Sophie and Benedict travel toward London, arguing about the long journey and the bad weather. Sophie warns that it will rain, and she turns out to be right. When the rain starts, Benedict suggests stopping at his cottage, which turns out to be a large estate. Their difference in status is clear when Benedict does not even have a key, while Sophie easily breaks in. He does not know how to light a fire, but Sophie quickly makes one. Benedict hides his injury, but it becomes infected and he develops a fever. Sophie takes care of him. While delirious, he asks her to kiss him, thinking she is the woman from the masquerade. He does not realize that she truly is. Back in London, Lady Whistledown writes about the Maid's War. Araminta has taken skilled servants from other households to replace Sophie. This causes chaos as families begin stealing staff from one another to fill the gap. Even Varley receives a job offer, but she turns it down, hoping Portia Featherington will raise her wages. Portia says she does not have the money and instead gives Varley her old dresses. Charlotte finds the gossip about servants boring and dismisses Danbury's ethical concerns. The Queen also fails to see that Danbury is simply pleasing her whims and wishes. Benedict advises Violet to be gentle with Eloise, but Mama Bridgerton has other ideas. Since Eloise refuses to be courted, she is made to chaperone Hyacinth's etiquette lessons. During the lessons, Eloise becomes even more irritated when she notices how spinsters are treated. The next day, the cottage caretakers, the Crabtrees, arrive. Benedict insists they treat Sophie as a guest. He convinces her to wear old Bridgerton dresses, and she hides her necklace. The caretakers refuse to let Benedict leave until he is fully healed. In return, he insists that Sophie enjoy the countryside instead of working. The scene cuts to Sophie restlessly pulling weeds in the garden instead of relaxing. She later meets Benedict in the library and is impressed by his artwork. He mentions that he will find work for her and the other maid, Hazel, which touches her. She tries to sneak away with a French book, and he is surprised that she knows French. He wants to learn more about her, but she avoids the questions by teaching him the correct French pronunciation. They almost kiss, but Mr. Crabtree interrupts. That night, Francesca and John are intimate. Francesca worries that something is wrong because they do not have a child yet. John wonders if her reaching the pinnacle might help with conception. During her next outing with Colin and Penelope, Francesca notices how strongly they desire each other. She asks Penelope about the pinnacle and looks confused when Penelope tells her that she often experiences it during sex. Danbury complains to Alice about Charlotte relying only on her instead of the other ladies in waiting. Alice casually says that Charlotte likely has no interest in them, as no one can replace Danbury. Back at the cottage, Sophie washes dishes. Mrs. Crabtree finds it amusing that Sophie cannot sit still and tells her to accept Benedict's kindness. Sophie accidentally admits that she is affected by his charm, and Mrs. Crabtree reminds her not to forget her position. At a garden party, Araminta arrives, and the ladies are annoyed with her for starting the Maid's War. Marcus flirts with Violet, making her nervous. Things get worse when Francesca asks Violet about the pinnacle. Violet feels embarrassed and tries to explain it as a magical feeling, but her explanation only leaves Francesca more confused. As for the main couple, Benedict convinces Sophie to fly a kite with him because he is bored. She teases him when he struggles at first, and they begin joking and playing around together. Mrs. Crabtree watches from a distance and worries that Sophie's reputation will be ruined, which would make it hard for anyone to hire her. Later, without the caretaker knowing, Sophie comes across Benedict swimming naked. He provokes her by accusing her of following him. She accidentally admits that she cannot stop watching him. They kiss, but Sophie quickly becomes awkward and formal afterward. Mrs. Crabtree notices that something has changed and warns Benedict about the imbalance of power between him and Sophie. She advises him to focus his attention on something else, such as the Silver Lady. Meanwhile, Varley notices Portia buying new clothes and decides to stand up for herself. Portia challenges her decision, but looks upset when Varley walks away. Lady Danbury, knowing that Charlotte enjoys a challenge, bets that she can find an exciting new lady-in-waiting. As expected, Charlotte accepts the bet. After speaking with Mrs. Crabtree, Benedict says it is time for them to leave. He apologizes to Sophie for the kiss and says that he regrets it. His words clearly hurt her. Next, a desperate Francesca goes to Penelope and directly asks what a pinnacle is. Penelope gives a clearer explanation of an orgasm, but compares it to warm biscuits. Eloise joins them at that moment, and they laugh it off instead of explaining the topic. Eloise feels left out. The scene cuts to Violet approaching Marcus. She nervously rambles about wanting him, but admits she is scared. He promises to wait for her as long as she needs, and they share a kiss. At the end of the episode, Sophie changes back into her maid's dress and hides her necklace under her collar. As they leave, Benedict asks if she has any thoughts on the route. She coldly replies that it is not her place. Benedict brings Sophie to Bridgerton House. Araminta has blacklisted her so thoroughly that he cannot find her a job anywhere else. Instead, he offers to employ her himself. Sophie is angry and uncomfortable, but Benedict promises to stay out of her way. Violet is unsure at first, but agrees, for Benedict's sake, to take Sophie on as a temporary lady's maid. Sophie settles in with the household staff and becomes friendly with John, Celia, and Mrs. Wilson. Meanwhile, Gregory returns home. Violet grows bolder with Marcus and asks Mrs. Wilson for advice. Mrs. Wilson suggests giving the staff a night off so Violet can invite Marcus over. Violet feels embarrassed, but Mrs. Wilson reassures her that she deserves to live her life. Hyacinth tries to bond with Eloise, but Eloise becomes more interested in Sophie after discovering that Sophie has read the same books she has. Benedict continues searching for the Silver Lady, but finds no trace of her. Francesca attempts to seduce Lord John, but becomes flustered and embarrassed when she is clumsy. During her free time, Sophie sits with the staff as they gossip. They talk about a new neighbor and wonder if she is a mistress, since no man lives in the house. Mrs. Wilson calmly says that mistresses are not welcome in their neighborhood. One evening, Benedict checks on Sophie, and she tells him she is no longer angry with him. She fixes his shirt, and they almost kiss before he walks away. Later, Benedict spends time with John, Colin, and Will at a gentleman's club. They spot an old friend with his mistress, whom he clearly loves. Benedict is pleased, but Colin and Will disapprove of the idea of having a mistress. The women gather for a girls' night at Lady Danbury's and talk about the Silver Lady. Violet encourages Francesca to host an evening so she can spend time with Marcus. Eloise and Hyacinth mention how well-read and capable Sophie is, which surprises Violet. The next day, Violet tries to learn more about Sophie and feels sad that she has no family or future prospects. She offers Sophie a permanent position and later tells Danbury that she feels protective and maternal toward her. Danbury faces her own dilemma, as she considers suggesting Alice as Charlotte's new lady-in-waiting. She knows this is selfish, since Alice would not enjoy the role. Violet repeats Mrs. Wilson's advice, saying that they have earned the right to live their lives happily. That night, Benedict finds Sophie looking at the stars. She admits that she misses the cottage. They stand too close, and when she tries to leave, he asks her to stay. She tells him about Violet's offer and says she has always wanted to belong to a family like his. Benedict says she deserves more, but promises not to risk her position if she chooses to stay. Sophie decides it is a bad idea and goes to her room. She lies awake, unable to sleep, thinking about Benedict. Following Violet's advice, Danbury brings Alice to Charlotte. Alice appears to have discovered the identity of Benedict's Silver Lady, and as a reward, Charlotte appoints her as a lady-in-waiting. Alice is unhappy with this, while Charlotte still expects Danbury to spend time with her. Meanwhile, Alice's information reaches Violet, who hosts the supposed Silver Lady, Miss Hollis. At first, the meeting goes well, and Benedict begins to believe Miss Hollis is the Silver Lady. His smile fades when Sophie comes in to serve them. He becomes distracted and burns his hand with hot tea. The Hollises soon excuse themselves and, as they leave, admit that they never attended the masquerade. Realizing the Silver Lady's search has failed, Benedict tries to explain himself to Sophie. She asks him to stop giving her false hope, as nothing can happen between them. She begs him to leave, and he agrees, moving back to his bachelor lodgings. As for Francesca, she feels nervous about hosting her family. John asks about her earlier attempt to be seductive, and she admits she is willing to try new things. When they are together, it still does not feel right for her. She pretends to enjoy it, but John notices. She blames herself, and he reassures her that she is perfect as she is. Moved by his words, she kisses him. Meanwhile, Alice keeps her distance from Danbury, and Danbury apologizes. Danbury recognizes herself in Alice and believes she has the potential to rise higher and become very powerful. Even Will seems interested in the idea of Alice becoming Charlotte's trusted right hand. It is the night of Francesca's dinner, which is also Violet's planned dalliance. Violet finds Benedict upset and tells him he will find that spark again with another woman. Mrs. Wilson gives the staff the night off, and they go to a tavern. Sophie decides to accept the permanent position. The Bridgertons leave for Francesca's house, and Violet pretends to be ill. At the dinner party, Hyacinth tries to make small talk with Eloise and praises Francesca's hosting skills. Eloise cuts her off, which hurts Hyacinth. She confronts Eloise, accusing her of not trying and of being too focused on herself. John and Francesca are surprised by the arrival of Michaela, who comes in her own carriage. Francesca turns pale, and Michaela notices her reaction. Back at home, Violet waits nervously for Marcus. When he arrives, she eagerly kisses him, and he is clearly pleased. Benedict cannot stop thinking about Sophie and decides to go after her. At the same time, Sophie realizes she has forgotten her coin purse and returns to Bridgerton House. They run into each other on the servants' staircase and kiss, and the moment quickly grows intense. Benedict makes an emotional confession, saying he wants to give her everything he can. He then offers for her to be his mistress. Sophie is hurt and upset by this and walks away, leaving Benedict confused. As Sophie leaves with the other servants, a carriage arrives outside. Araminta has moved into the house next door, and Varley is now her housekeeper. If you're enjoying the story, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more episodes. Your support really means a lot.